It's like a, well, whatever, baptism by fire.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we can start the interview now, and the door is opening. It's perfect. You're right on time. No, let's turn it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Should I hold it, or is it better if you keep it out of the picture?
No, it's no problem. If you're bored with it, just put it on the table at some point.
No, further.
Stack. So apparently the new LP is more funk and maybe more Talking Heads than Ray Momo. Was that because you thought that Ray Momo was maybe too Latin?
No. It was, I think it was something psychological in myself, I think. Looking back on it, I think it was that I think I had to distance myself a little bit from Talking Heads before I could do anything that sounded in any way similar. And after a few years of distancing myself, I suppose I could, after that time, I could allow some of that, those grooves and sounds and whatever, to come back into what I was doing. I didn't think about it, but that seems to be what happened.
Yeah, you seem to, you had to get rid, basically, of the idea of Talking Heads as a...
Yeah, and then after a while, of course, since I was the main writer, that's something I do, it comes back. It's not forbidden.
But then also maybe the LP was too Latin and surprised very much the audience.
Yeah, I think it did surprise some part of the audience. I think there were some people who are surprised by nothing, and for them maybe it seemed natural.
You mean they expect anything from...
They expect anything, yeah. And, but others who maybe were expecting a little bit more rock or funk or something were a little bit surprised. But that's the way things go. It's a record that reflects my love of that music, and in a way, it felt to me as it was a way of paying back or giving back what some of that music has given to me.
Yes, because it seems to be very roots. I mean, you didn't take some elements of it. You went right from the original thing.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. And I think those elements, many of those elements are now, I've absorbed them. They're in what I do, but it's not an obsession.
It was an obsession?
It was an obsession.
You were dreaming of Latin music?
Every night.
So it wasn't because you were disappointed by the sales of Ray Momo? I don't know what they were, so I'm just wondering.
No, I don't think so. I think, well, after Ray Momo, I released a record of orchestral music, and if anything, the sales of that were worse. So the sales are something that I'm used to. It goes up and down all the time. It's like life. It comes and goes.
In one interview, you mentioned that you're a victim of your own curiosity as far as musical taste go. Mm-hmm. Is that true? I'd like you to elaborate on that.
I'm lucky enough that I can pay my bills, pay the gas and electric and those kind of things, and still indulge myself and do go wherever my curiosity leads me, and wherever my passions lead me. I'm lucky to be able to do that, but it sometimes I feel like I'm being dragged along, that I'm being almost physically being pulled, not against my will, but that my passions and my loves are dragging me, and I don't know where I'm going.
Because it's surprising because you seem to be a very reasonable character.
Yeah, but maybe that's maybe I keep all these other passions or enthusiasms. Maybe they're all inside, and I managed that. It's a compensation maybe for this kind of cool exterior.
Did you marry a Latin girl?
No.
No? I thought.
No.
I was just guessing. Maybe it will help you to pay the gas bill. I heard about the box set of Talking Heads CDs. Is that going on?
Yeah, I think it's coming out in September, I believe. We finished putting it together, and so in our case we were very much involved in choosing the songs and the package and all that kind of thing. We put some old demos of songs that we had done before we began recording, and there were some tracks that we did that we didn't finish that we finished up for this. So it was a nice way to kind of clean things up.
But wasn't it? I mean, it was such a big influence. It was a very influential band, I think. Maybe it was. Is that one of the problems why it didn't work out with the others in the end? Because it was. I mean, people were expecting too much of Talking Heads. Or is it something else? Maybe more
I don't know.
Materialistic?
I don't know. I think it's. Now that I think about it, and I didn't think about it much at the time, but now that I'm being asked these kind of questions, I think that it's almost like you go through a different period in your life. And in one period in your life, you have to leave your family. As much as you might love your family, you hate them too, and so you have to leave. In
another interview, I read this very funny remark that Talking Heads was like 3 normal kids backing some sort of maniac. The maniac being you.
Yeah. But, well...
Did you feel like the maniac?
No, it was something I've read about myself. I think that I'm normal and that normal people are crazy. But that's my own opinion.
No, well, it could be true because they were like these suburban kids from... they look very normal, and you were doing the crazy dancing with the oversized clothes, etc.
That's true. Maybe that... I don't know. I didn't think about it. That's just the way it worked out. It wasn't a planned image or anything like that.
No, it's one of the great memories we have of the band. So let's talk about the new record. So what about? I mean, very silly question. The title. Of course, there's the Raymond reference, but who stole it from whom?
Oh, that's right. I didn't realize that. Someone pointed it out to me about a week ago. That Dustin Hoffman said a lot in that movie. It's an expression I use a lot now, and it seems very apt these days with the state of the world, the state of things. It's an expression of something's not right, something's gone wrong.
Yeah, to us, the French audience, what does it basically mean, that expression?
It's an expression saying something's wrong here. Something's not right.
So why did you choose? Just because you're saying that a lot?
No, it seems to be. It's something that it sums up the state of the world in the smallest number of syllables.
And so it seems there's something wrong with the cover to start with. There's the funny looking dog on the cover. So it looks a bit like Snoopy, by the way.
I hope I don't get sued. It's a religious image. It's what I expect to see in heaven, that God has gone on a coffee break and that there's a dog in his seat.
That's not the old reverse of the word dog and God, of course.
No, that's just a coincidence.
Okay. So for this record you chose like different musicians, and especially there's a bass player from the Meters. That seemed to be a good choice for me.
Yeah, I always liked the Meters, and George was great. So he'll be along on the tour. We'll be performing these songs and some Talking Heads songs and lots of things in the near future. A lot of the rest of the musicians were on the road with me a year or so ago. So I just continued where I'd left off in a way, with a few changes. I added George on the bass because I thought, being from New Orleans, he could be sympathetic with both the kind of funk material and the Latin material. And that turned out to be true, that because New Orleans is on the Caribbean in a sense, so at least it's on the Gulf. There's a lot of that music in New Orleans music. It has some of that swing, so it was very natural for George. It fit right in.
And the choice of Nick Launay as producer, was it to give you a harder edge because he produced
in your face kind of sound. 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 The sound is very present. I liked that quality, and I thought if we can get that sound with this band, that would be great. And of course, you directed True Stories and a lot of Talking Heads videos, and I was wondering if a song like the first song of the album, "No, I'm Your Mom," it seemed to be like a continuation of that True Stories kind of. Well, maybe it is. I didn't think of it that way, but maybe you're right. It's a little bit.
What's the song?
A little bit eccentric. Oh, the song's about a man who has had a sex change operation and is explaining to his daughter that now he's her mother. And it's maybe a spectacular subject, but it's treated in a very straightforward way. Sex is confusing for people these days. It can be anything, and it can be nothing. It's very desirable, but it's forbidden. So it's a strange time that we live in.
You seem to have a lot of fun writing the lyrics. In fact, the second song, I mean that one, "No, I'm Your Mom," and then the second song, "Girls on My Mind." You're using all the cliches, the chatter kind of lines.
Oh, that's right.
In a very silly and funny way, I think.
Yeah, it was that song just kind of poured out. It was I started, strumming guitar, almost like a cliche song poured right out. And at first I was embarrassed to perform it for anyone. It seemed so silly, but it seemed to have have a certain honesty about it too. So I think I can defend it.
Is it maybe to change the image, because you seem to have been considered by the American press these last years as a very serious, like world music loving kind of character, doing like more difficult records, like for the Ray Momo. Is it you want to be silly again? Like he might have been a lot in that. In the good sense, of course.
Yeah, I like a good laugh. And sometimes, if I'm not getting it from elsewhere, I have to tickle myself. So sometimes that's necessary.
Okay, getting back to the label now, because you're running the label. Is it comparable in any way to, like, let's take Peter Gabriel's Real World, for instance, or do you have a different approach? You know, he's releasing also.
That's right.
Exotic
That's right.
music.
That's right. A friend of mine attempted once to compare it to Herb Alpert starting A&M Records in Los Angeles. And at that time they released mainly Herb Alpert records and Sergio Mendes, the Brazilian. And I think there's a big difference, although that label was became very, very successful. I don't know. It's a passion. And having the label is a way to financially pay for it, to not have it come out of my pocket. And the definition of what the label is changing all the time. We release music from all parts of the world. Right now, we're looking at musicians from Texas, from Japan, London, India. So anything's possible. It'd be amusing to make it like a real business if we had to wear suits when we came in to work, but we don't do that.
What does work about me, by the way?
Well, my answer is kind of boring. It's a kind of tea from Sri Lanka. But
that's boring.
That is boring. But Yale, the man who runs the label, would tell you that it's a Charlie Parker tune that was never recorded.
Okay. Yeah, because your passion for Latin music, it came out as a big surprise after all. I mean, it's just the same old cliche, you know, as can a white man sing the blues, so can a white man sing Latin music?
Who knows? It turns into something else. When whatever Afrocuban music is sung in English, it slowly turns into something else. I'm still trying to figure out what that is, what it is, what do we call it now? But it's it's not. Well, we have to invent a new name for it or something. I don't know what it is anymore.
But of course, you feel it's relevant for you to try to popularize that music.
Yeah.
Some sort of mission you think you have, because you're using your platform, the respect you have from the
something. It's not thinking something. It's not thinking something I really think about. It's music I listen to, music I hear on the streets of New York. It reflects the nature of the city, the changing makeup of the city. In the same way that if someone were to say, what is the music of Paris today, you would have to say that at least half of it is African or from the Antilles.
Yeah, that's right. That's why you did the last Talking Heads record. Right?
Yeah.
So you're also still quoting you. You mentioned in one of the press releases, "I'm slowly overcoming the racism that was instilled in me by society." Is that still true? You're still fighting that
Yeah, I think at some point I was forced to ask myself, have I eliminated this whatever illness or virus from my body? And I had to admit that there were kind of secret parts of me that it was still there, and that it's an ongoing job to try and get rid of it.
Was that your education, or just society in general?
Excuse me?
Was that your education or society that instilled it?
Well, I think it's in society. It's in the television. You get it in the newspapers. You get it in the schools. You get it in music. For the most part, it's reinforced 1,000 different ways, and in very subtle ways. No one comes on television wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood anymore, but it's much more subtle than that, and so it becomes a constant effort to kind of swimming against the current to try and go against it.
And it's in the music business as well. If you work on a billboard, you have like different charts for different races.
Yeah, and it's always been that way. And they have euphemisms. They call it urban contemporary music, and what they really mean is this is black music. But they won't say that.
Do they have a Latin chart in the billboard?
Yeah, they do. It's divided into two sections. They call it tropical and something else.
Does it make you crazy?
All these charts. It's fascinating. It's like the state of the world these days. Everyone, every little territory wants to be their own country, and pretty soon everyone will have their own flag in their own house, or their own. Everyone will declare independence from everyone else.
Who do you have to declare independence?